Episode 23, The Circle Strike. The weight of Loria's essence pressed against Evelyn's chest as she carried it in a pouch, its faint glow pulsing rhythmically, like a heartbeat. It offered reassurance and yet seemed to whisper of the peril ahead. The trio returned to Clara's home in silence, each weighed down by the enormity of their task. As they entered the kitchen, Eli dropped into a chair, his exhaustion evident. 2 sanctums down. 2 more to go. But the silent circle is bound to strike soon, they won't wait for us to keep getting ahead. Clara nodded, setting down her bag of charms and maps. We've stirred the balance, and they know it. Loria's essence is a beacon. They'll feel it. We need to be ready for them. Evelyn paced the room, her thoughts churning. We should move now. Staying here makes us targets. If they attack and we lose Loria's essence. Her voice trailed off as an unspoken dread settled over the room. Clara reached for a protective charm and placed it on the windowsill, its faint glow adding a fragile sense of security. Agreed, Clara said. We leave at dawn. The next sanctum is further away, near the old lighthouse. It'll take time to reach, and we'll be exposed on the way. But they didn't have until dawn. The attack came in the dead of night. Evelyn stirred from her restless sleep as the air grew unnaturally cold. The protective charms Clara had placed around the house flickered weakly, their light dimming as an unseen force pressed against them. She sat up, heart racing, just as the sound of shattering glass echoed through the quiet. Eli! Clara! Evelyn shouted, grabbing the pouch with Loria's essence. Eli burst through the door to her room, his eyes wide. They're here. Clara was already in the kitchen, gripping a charm that glowed with an intense, golden light. The circle, she said, her voice steady, despite the tension in her body. They'd broken the outer wards. Before they could respond, the house trembled. Shadows coalesced in the corners, writhing like living smoke. From the darkness, figures emerged, cloaked and hooded, their faces obscured. They carried an aura of menace, their presence pressing against Evelyn's chest like a physical weight. One figure stepped forward, their voice calm but chilling. You've meddled too far. Surrender the essence, and we may let you live. Eli's jaw tightened. Like hell, we will. Clara raised her charm, its glow flaring bright. You've already lost 2 sanctums. We won't let you take this one. The figure chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. Lost? No. You've merely carried out our work for us, awakening the sanctums and breaking the seal. And now, we'll claim what's ours. Evelyn's breath caught. They wanted us to awaken the keepers, she whispered. It was all part of their plan. Too late for revelations, the figure said. With a wave of their hand, the shadows surged forward, twisting into jagged shapes that lashed out like whips. The room erupted into chaos. Evelyn ducked as a tendril of shadow swept past her, smashing into the wall. Eli grabbed a chair and swung it at the encroaching darkness, the wood splintering on impact but giving him enough time to maneuver closer to Clara. Clara chanted under her breath, the charm in her hand radiating heat. She threw it toward the lead figure, and it burst into flames mid-air, forcing the figure to retreat. But the fire sputtered out quickly, swallowed by the encroaching shadows. They're too strong here, Clara shouted. We need to get outside. The open air will weaken their hold. Evelyn nodded, clutching the pouch tightly as she darted toward the back door. The shadows writhed and lashed at her, one striking her shoulder and sending a jolt of icy pain through her body. She stumbled but pushed forward, Eli and Clara close behind. They burst out into the night, the crisp air biting at their skin. The shadows followed, but their forms faltered under the moonlight, losing some of their cohesion. This way. Clara shouted, leading them toward the woods behind her house. Evelyn glanced back to see the cloaked figures emerging from the house, their movements fluid and unnerving. The leader raised their hand, and the shadows surged forward again, faster and more aggressive. Eli grabbed Evelyn's arm. Run. We'll figure out a plan later. They sprinted into the woods, the darkness closing in around them. Evelyn's heart pounded as she clutched Loria's essence, its glow flickering as if in response to the danger. The forest offered some cover, but the shadows slithered through the trees, relentlessly pursuing them. Clara suddenly stopped, turning to face their pursuers. "Go ahead," she shouted. "I'll hold them off." "No," Evelyn cried. "We're stronger together." Clara gave her a fierce look. "You're the one carrying the essence. If they take it, it's over. Go." Reluctantly, Evelyn and Eli pushed forward, leaving Clara behind. They heard her chanting, the air vibrating with power as light flared behind them. But they couldn't look back, there was no time. They didn't stop running until they reached a clearing, the faint glow of dawn just beginning to pierce the horizon. Evelyn collapsed to her knees, gasping for breath, as Eli scanned the woods for any sign of their pursuers. "Did we lose them?" Evelyn asked, her voice trembling. Eli shook his head. "For now, maybe. But Clara..." His words were cut off by a faint sound, a voice carried on the wind. It was Clara's, distant and faint, chanting the same protective incantations they had heard before. But then it stopped abruptly, leaving only silence. Evelyn's stomach twisted. "We have to go back for her." Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. "If we go back now, we'll fall right into their trap." Clara knew what she was doing. "She bought us time." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded, knowing he was right. We can't let her sacrifice be in vain. As the first rays of sunlight broke through the trees, Evelyn tightened her grip on Loria's essence. They had escaped, for now, but the silent circle would not stop. And with Clara's fate uncertain, the burden of protecting the pact felt heavier than ever. They turned toward the path ahead, their resolve hardening. The lighthouse sanctum awaited, and they couldn't afford to fail. End of episode 23.